When we're able to sit down, us, Microsoft, and the customer, we really bring powerful solutions together. One, it's comforting to our customers that we're bringing someone like Microsoft to the table. And then with our deep experience, we can combine the technology and our services together really to create top-notch approach to what customers are trying to solve in their business problems.
When it comes to the Azure AI apps and agents, Insight and Microsoft have a great partnership with the opportunity to use Foundry to go and explore new opportunities around models and capabilities that the client might be exploring. It's a great opportunity to go and use something like Fabric to bring all their data to a single warehouse. And then finally, we can use Azure Web Apps to deploy that for consumption across the globe.
At Capgemini, we are experts in engineering and also industry. So with the way Microsoft brings the innovation in AI infrastructure, the leading services such as Foundry and agentic framework, we are building most modern application for our clients.
What excites me about the Azure tech stack is that it's easy to get started. When I work with people who've never been exposed to Azure before, I can show them the Foundry and we can create projects, deploy models, and test all right in the browser before they even open up another tool. To me, that helps go from idea to actionable MVP extremely quickly.
Azure also offers one of the most mature and trusted enterprise AI platforms. It focuses on the same things that our customers count on from us, right? Things like innovation that scales, reliability, and a strong security and compliance nature.
The nice thing about Azure is that we don't have to worry too much about the safety and security of those agents because of the guardrails that are built into the platform. We can focus on the accelerator and creating agents, but the tool set inside of Azure helps keep it secure and safe.
Azure is the place to be if you're building new agents.
Insight's partnership with Microsoft has been one of the most valuable things throughout our company's history, and I look forward to continuing to drive it forward this year.
Good morning, everyone. Have you had a good Ignite so far? It's been awesome to see what we were able to ship this event, and I'm really excited about this session. Today we'll be talking about how we can drive success for our customers together. We'll take a few minutes to walk through how we think about our stack. Then we'll have a customer moment with 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗬𝗀, or a partner moment with 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗬𝗀 from KPMG. And then Ashley will join us on the stage to talk more about the programs that we're rolling out. So to kind of get started, I wanted to take a moment to reflect on the market opportunity in front of us and how we see the market shifting. And I'll be around afterwards for questions and details to the extent that you guys have additional thoughts. When we get into market trends and use cases, jumping right in, we see AI adoption is accelerating. You've seen this metric kind of ad nauseum, but we see agentic AI in particular and this emergence of agents as where a lot of the business value is going to be created. Overall, I think it's critical to stay ahead of the curve on this agentic AI and why it's important. So I'm going to spend some time talking about how we make agentic AI possible throughout the stack and how that might influence how you interact with your customers. Now, for services partners, there's tremendous need for customers to have help in understanding how all of these pieces of the jigsaw fit together. There's a need to identify common patterns for specific industries, and there's a need to make it easier and cheaper for customers to deploy these use cases. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity from a services perspective to drive that, and I think Ashley will be talking a little bit about our agent factory motion. You'll certainly be hearing more about it in the coming weeks. From a software perspective, we are deeply focused in not only delivering bigger building blocks from our products so that it's easier for you to build, but we're also deeply invested in a truly interoperable platform. And you hear this from the top of our organization down to the engineers, right? We're committed to openness because we know that it's going to be the ISVs and our software development partners and many of you in this room that help build capabilities that are easier for our end customers to access and ultimately deploy at scale. And I just want to take a moment to thank all of the wonderful partners, both in this room, from Capgemini, EY, Adobe, Accenture, even services that somewhat compete with us, Pinecone, Siemens, et cetera. We're super excited to have such a wide breadth of partners working on Foundry and working with Azure. And we think that's where a lot of our joint success can come from as a company in this market. So let's take a moment to look how Accenture is transforming customer businesses with AI capabilities.
𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗀
At Accenture, we focus on AI and agent-led end-to-end business process transformations that unlock tremendous value for our customers.
𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀
Responsible AI could help us improve the efficiency and security of our development processes and the safety of our applications.
With its leadership in responsible AI, Azure AI Foundry is a game changer for us. A single-stop solution for everything and anything related to AI with safety and security.
Unassign, reinvent.
We get robust, automated safety evaluations, including harm and risk assessments, adversarial testing, and groundness detection.
Prompt shields in Azure AI content safety can detect attacks or system manipulations.
The observability tools in Foundry allows us to monitor and manage AI solutions effectively.
We're also experimenting with AI red teaming agent to help ensure AI models don't produce harmful outputs.
This proactive approach to security helps build AI solutions that are effective, safe, and trustworthy.
We have reduced the time to build AI applications by 50%. We have seen a 30% increase in overall efficiency and a 20% reduction in costs.
There is no Gen AI without responsible AI. Prioritizing responsible AI empowers faster, more efficient deployment of secure Gen AI solutions. Our customers are realizing operational efficiencies and powering future innovations and business growth.
Microsoft.
Awesome. When we think about apps that matter and all of the solutions that you deliver to end customers, one of the things that we're working on to make it easier for you to be successful is collecting all of the use cases, the feedback, the business challenges, what frontier solutions are working, what the architecture looks like, and packaging it all up so that the partners can share in the success of each other so that you can see what's working in the industry. So if you take a look at this link, this is a great one to take your phones out and earmark. We've put all of these assets in one central place so that you can go and download them. Later in the session, Ashley will discuss how you can scale your AI practice, and this is certainly part of that solution when it comes to attracting great projects. All right, so now I want to take just a few minutes to talk through what enterprise-ready AI means and how apps and agents is all shifting as we build these bigger building blocks and as AI becomes more powerful. So when we look at the entire AI development cycle, it starts with orchestration. Those in the audience may be aware, we've simplified our orchestration stack. We used to have AutoGen, we used to have semantic kernel, we had all these different software packages, including for Copilot Studio, et cetera. Everything has been brought into one Microsoft Agent framework. And it is the cutting edge package. It's very easy to get started. And increasingly, the AI agents know how to use this package. Using that or any other framework, you plug in frontier models. We'll talk a little bit about models in a second. We're so excited to welcome Claude to the Foundry Models catalog this week. And we're proud to say that we have the broadest selection of models of any cloud. Knowledge and tools, we'll take a minute to talk about. You might have heard about these IQ things. So we'll chat about what those are and why it's important. And then as we go to scale these solutions, we find the #1 customer concern is governance. Governance of shadow IT, governance around what are these AI agents interacting with in my business? How do I make sure that I control what they modify in my business systems? And then for customers that are more sophisticated and have enough samples of these agents working in production, that's when you really get into these fine-tuning and customization use cases, and we really start to unlock some of those more advanced AI capabilities. And then Foundry is increasingly focused on deployment from cloud to edge. So these frontier models are going to run in the cloud, and increasingly as more GPUs and more silicon becomes available, we'll have more edge deployments. Azure has 70 regions right now. We have the most GPUs deployed of any cloud provider. But ultimately, there's advantages to shift left and go to the edge, right? There's latency reasons we might want to do that. We might want to have an AI model running in your car, et cetera. And we believe that these models will, and these agents will be interactive. So you'll have a local agent that can do your most common tasks. Hopefully it'll work a lot better than Siri. And then as you go up the stack with more complex queries, you'll hit the edge and the cloud. And in general, I think the market is shifting from a single model, simple POC style environment to a multi-model, multi-workflow, continuous improvement environment. And we're seeing that through a number of different shifts that I'll double click in a minute. But as you guys saw in the keynote, multi-agent workflows are here. And I think that's where a lot of the power of this technology will be, because it's where we get that reusability from the stack. Looking at Foundry, I heard a lot of people still on the floor asking, what is Foundry? So maybe we have more work to do on educating our customers of what is Foundry. But Microsoft Foundry is our unified, interoperable AI stack. And this is kind of what the architecture looks like. We have Foundry models with the widest selection of models from any cloud. We have the agent service, which we announced this week, not only can host agents from the Microsoft Agent Framework or from our low-code platforms, but LangChain and any of the open source frameworks can now be hosted and fully managed and scaled in the agent service. We have Foundry IQ, which I'll talk about in a moment. We have all of our AI services. So everything that was Azure AI Foo is now available as an MCP server and as a tool, including all of our logic apps and Power Automate flows. That's a really powerful capability. We're continuing to improve our machine learning and fine-tuning stack with automatic data generation and more. And we announced the Foundry control plane, which is a signals layer for developers that interacts with Agent 365 to bring all of the signals about what agents are doing in your business, even if they compose across pro code and low code and even external clouds. All of those tool calls and traces come to one spot. And that's really fundamental to how we think that these systems are going to operate in the long run. Basically, all composing together, all these agents talking to each other. And ultimately, we're deeply committed to connecting this environment to all of our partner ISVs. So you've seen that we announced additional connections to Adobe, Atlassian, UiPath, and more at this event. And we're also announcing this week that all of our frontier tenants will have access to MCP tools for Word, PowerPoint, Office, Outlook, et cetera. So you're really going to be increasingly able to touch everything in our stack and everything in the broader ecosystem with agents. Why are we positioned for success here? I think it's just that we've got 2-3 years doing this. The biggest brands, the biggest, most technical companies are using Foundry. We've worked deeply to make sure that our SLAs and latency is top-notch. We've worked to bring your own permissions. We've improved the standards, including the MCP standard. We've integrated with Monitor. There's just all of these capabilities in Foundry that were designed to be enterprise ready from the start, and that's a key reason why I think we're set up for success. Okay, so Foundry. It's really designed to be the collection point for all of our AI building blocks. And what we're increasingly positioning it to do is to derive context from customers' business systems and act on it, ultimately governed with these universal AI lifecycle capabilities through Agent 365 and Foundry Control Plane. Those are really the three pillars of what Foundry is. And when we think about the accelerating AI journey, there's actually another session today at 11 a.m. At the Partner Theater around agentic DevOps. And I think, let me actually ask a question. How many in the room have used an agent? Okay, almost everyone. How many have used agent mode in Visual Studio Code or seen somebody use it? Okay, about half the room. I think when you look at what that capability does, especially if you've seen it in the last 60 days, there has been a step function improvement. And it's because these AI agents are starting to act to build themselves. They can call tools, they can execute research, they can help build BRDs. And throughout the entire AI lifecycle, from building to operating to deploying to planning, it's all being improved at a much faster pace because the agents themselves are helping us build them. And I think that's a key part of why we'll see an explosion in agents in the next few years. Okay, I'll end with this. We've talked about this new intelligence layer. You've seen it at the keynote, getting a lot of questions on what it really is. So I'm going to take one quick crack at it. With Microsoft, we know it's really important to have high quality context. And we also know it's very hard. We've been building Copilot for some time. We know what customers like. We know what doesn't work. And fundamentally, we announced 3 key things this week that make high quality context possible. First, we have Work IQ. I think this is the most easy to understand. Not only in the Microsoft stack do we have all of your documents, your meetings, who you're talking to, what you're editing, but we also have the time series of all of this information. We have broader signals than just pure, you open this file. Work IQ helps us understand and ground AI on what it is that you, the user, are doing and what your organization is doing broadly. Fabric IQ is an interesting concept similar to Palantir's ontology product. Just like customers have been building these semantic models in Power BI forever, right? It has huge market share. We're seeing a lot of success there. But the piece that was missing is how do I connect these tables, this physical data, to my business concepts, which are often much higher level, and they often have a lot of acronyms and lingo around that business. The business also does things. It has certain actions and fundamentals. So how do we not only ground the agent on how our business works, but also what actions it could take on top of that business model? And that is really the essence of what Fabric IQ is. It extends the concrete data layer to the business understanding of how the business is operating on those underlying tables. And then what Foundry IQ does is it culminates all of these signals from Work IQ, from Fabric IQ, from your applications in Azure to the web, all in one API, such that your agents can interact with a single endpoint and get high quality context. And Pablo did a session earlier in the week, it was actually yesterday, was a standing room only. If you haven't checked out that session, I highly recommend it. It's very informative. But the net is Foundry IQ can boost with very little reasoning effort, very little cost, customer satisfaction by 30%. And it's because what it's doing is it's looking at all of the data that's coming in. Yes, it's doing the RAG, it's doing the indexing even, indexing, chunking, embedding, it's all easy mode. You can go in and fine tune it, but we found customers and partners struggle with doing that well. So we've made an easy mode. And it also supports remote sources. And what the agent, or what the capability ultimately does is it looks at all of the sources, it remembers where to find the best data, it pulls the best data, it reasons depending on the reasoning effort that you specify, and it re-ranks. And the net is, in a few seconds, you can get your agent higher quality context, which means it then reasons and acts better for your customer or for your use case. And I think that's really an example of what we're trying to do as a company, is we're trying to make it much easier to get started while retaining all the knobs and switches that engineers love. And fundamentally, we think that there's 3 layers of the stack that are going to make this happen. Microsoft Copilot and the productivity suite, Microsoft Fabric and all of your data, and Microsoft Foundry, which provides all that AI capability. All of it protected by the Microsoft Defender and Security Suite. You've seen Agent ID, you've seen Defender integrated into the stack, you've seen Purview automatically blocking and mitigating data leakage. All of this is coming together, and I think in the next 6 months we'll see more progress than we saw in the last 18. Really excited about it. All right. That's enough of a wrap up. With that, I'm going to welcome Ashley to the stage, as well as Tim Denley from KPMG. Ashley?
Thank you. Awesome. You can just leave it there. Thank you so much, Don. We're just going to pop these in the front here for you guys, front and center.
All right.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Tim, for joining me. Everybody for choosing to kick off your morning with us at 8:30. I was a little bit anxious last night about who might show up.
Early morning starts.
Yeah, appreciate it. Why don't you introduce yourself for the audience?
Sure. So I'm Tim Denley. I'm the global CTO at KPMG. I'm responsible for all of our technology strategy across all the member firms, as well as the work we deliver in servicing clients across audit, tax, and advisory.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love the part in Don's opening presentation where he talks about the apps that matter. And don't get me wrong, the slide is intense, but that's because those industry verticals are complex and there is such a variety of use cases that the agents are effectively helping to address and bring ROI to our customers. I would love to hear from you, like on the front lines, and we probably should even call it the agents that matter instead of the apps that matter these days, but I'd love to hear from you. What are the trends that you're seeing with customers? Like what's actually driving and moving them into action, and like the use cases that are really resonating with them?
Yeah, so it's a really complex ecosystem to navigate, right? So if I think about it from the perspective of CXOs, they're trying to understand how to really leverage the tools to be most effective and how to demystify some of the things that they do understand versus the things that they don't understand. But we're really seeing a drive to build trust and trustworthiness into the foundations of everything that we're doing in AI, is unlocking the potential across vast areas of their business. And CEOs recognize this, they see this. What they don't yet know is how do they actually unlock that. So they're looking for the support to really understand how they bridge from this notion of we think there might be something here, but what are the things that we can trust to actually get us to that outcome?
Yeah, and that's actually a good segue into what is KPMG doing to like uniquely position themselves as the partner of choice to actually bring them through to that and actually realize that value?
Yeah, that's a good question. So if we think about KPMG and our strengths in kind of the risk, regulatory, and compliance space that we've been known for over 150 years, it's taking that and really using it as the foundation for what we're doing with AI. And we've been a really early adopter. We were one of the first customers on Copilot, and it was a huge leap for our leadership to take to put Copilot in the hands of all of our people. But that is something that has really been foundational to our journey with AI. And that has enabled us to have really interesting conversations with our clients, because if there's something that we as a fairly risk-averse business by nature are willing to adopt and really bring into the core of our business, then customers are starting to see that and say, actually, that probably means there's something here for us to do as well. Yeah. So that has been really critical to our success of really adopting early and trying to broaden our use of AI across all the different parts of our business, with a strong recognition that there's a disruption and a disruptive nature in what's happening here, that we actually need to get ahead of the curve and be early adopters of some of these new technologies.
And I mean, you could choose to do that, though, with any of the cloud providers. And so obviously, being at the Microsoft Tier 1 event, I have to ask why you choose Azure and why you've chosen to double down on actually bringing that unique value to market with us and with Microsoft versus other providers that you may have a choice.
Yeah, so we've clearly had a really long relationship with Microsoft, and we were able to engage early enough to understand how we could take the investments we'd already made in things like Fabric and the M365 stack to really advance and move quickly. So that partnership has been absolutely critical to us being successful and being able to move fast, and really just leveraging and working with the product teams to start to really build things out. And my boss sent me a message this morning that he'd kind of looked at our strategy and used the researcher to compare it against the Ignite announcements, and it came back with oh, you're very well aligned, and it looks like you're headed in the same direction. So I think that's part of what's making it successful, is that we do see the same, that we're on the same trajectory, we're on the same journey, and we're doing it together.
Amazing. And maybe to close us out, if you're choosing to be here at 8:30 in the morning, you're probably looking for a little bit of advice in where to spend time, how to build your practice. What would be that sort of practical advice you'd leave the audience with?
Oh yeah, so I think one of the key things for us has been that client zero story. So I heard it on Tuesday in the keynote, the reality of how are you using these tools to really make a difference in your own business, and then how are you taking those stories forward to what you're engaging with a customer. And it's interesting because a lot of what we do is not what we're selling, but the story to be told around how we're using the tools, how we're getting to grips with the tools, how we're enabling our people, and how we're actually affecting that change in our own organization resonates in any conversation with a client around AI. And so it's really important to use the tools to be really well versed in the capabilities that are out there, and then be able to bring those stories into the conversations you're having with clients. It's really, really hard to talk about something as complex as AI unless you are able to actually show how you're using it yourself.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank
Tim.
you.
It was great to have you up here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Just move these out of the way here. And I actually am going to talk a little bit about skilling and probably more of the context of skilling up your sales teams as well as your customers as well for their sustained success. But know that everything I'm talking about today, when I get into skilling here in just a minute, is really actually is available to everybody in this room. It's free, and it's something you can get your hands on to actually deliver on, if you will, the advice that Tim just gave. So as I was mentioning, being here and choosing to be with us at 8:30 in the morning, you're probably still looking for the ways to expand your practice, to mature your practice. What are the things that you maybe are going to help you to differentiate in the market? This is really making a statement to say those that were early on are starting to see the return. They're starting to see the impact to their gross margins. The partners like KPMG are not saying, hey, this is the future and we will realize value from it. They're actually starting to see that today. And many of our partners who were early to the AI practice building and differentiation are starting to see that. But we still have a long way to go to modernizing our partner practices. Microsoft has been built on a foundation of partnerships. That's our legacy, and that's what how our company was born. And so we have incredibly mature partner businesses. That doesn't mean we have incredibly mature AI practices, especially with the pace of the AI innovation. And so what I'm going to sort of pivot to now is how are we helping you guys to deepen, invest, and get to a place of having that differentiation as well as the skills you need, go to market, and ultimately convert those opportunities into that revenue impact. This is sort of just a setup here to kind of give us a roadmap, if you will, of what we're going to talk a little bit about. Ultimately, I really like the point when I was talking to Tim about what is their sort of specialty and the unique value. Before you really dive into all the goodies that the Microsoft Partner Program has to offer to you, you really do have to sit with that. You have to think about what is our unique differentiation. Where is our subject matter expertise? Is it in a particular industry? Is it more horizontal in nature? Is it more of DevOps? Is it more of the change management? You really need to sit with that before you're going to put like the AI wrapper around it and think about how you're going to transform your managed services or even your IP, because in some ways we've actually seen many of our system integrators also finding that as they are their own customer zero, building their own applications that they ultimately end up packaging and then going out and reselling themselves as well. So you sort of have to sit and do that soul searching, and then you'll be in a position to actually start to come and leverage and ultimately grow that idea and nurture it into a fully fledged practice, which really starts with effectively skilling. And skilling, which I think Nicole said, and I love, and I'm going to steal it and keep using it now, is the new currency. The pace at which the AI innovation is rolling out, like this just has to be an always on. We have to completely rethink about how we all stay up to speed and keep pace with what's happening. And we are going through our own transformations about how we bring that to our customers. There were some really great announcements in the keynote from our MS Learn team, but we're also thinking about how we bring that to our partners so that you guys who are going to lead our customers through it know first and are getting access to all of the great skilling. So we have all the modalities. We are looking for ways and updating our content as frequently as possible so that you are getting your hands on real training like the hands-on labs through Project Ready, more closely aligned to when the announcements and the products are shipping. So we're trying to reduce that gap in time, in fact, with AI, to make sure that we can update more frequently. And so we're using that to help us to better innovate. Like I said, all the modalities though. If in-person is also something that resonates for you, you feel like your teams learn better, you have the financial means to do that, we have the AI tours for partners that I just want to make sure to call out. We've got them in 12 different locations this year, and they're closely aligned to our AI tour for customers. And so this is also a great opportunity to take advantage of our customers, our executives, similar to how we've been experimenting with Ignite now and bringing our partners and co-locating. We're doing something similar with AI Tour. We will get even tighter and more aligned this next year as well. But this is an in-person experience. And I'll also mention that we added a track for software development partners. And I say partners specifically because that track is actually focusing on how you go to market, how do you co-sell, how do you use the marketplace. So it's the partnering side of bringing your software to market. And so that's also a new track that we've evolved both on the sales side, and then we also have the technical depth for your sellers and your technical sellers as well. Next up, once you actually have put in the time, the investment, and you have skilled up your people, you want to claim that. You want to make that known, and you want to give that confidence to your customers. And the badge that we have had for quite some time in the market is our Azure specializations. We also have designations as part of the partner program. Those specializations basically proclaim the time, the investment, and the successful customer outcomes that you're accomplishing, and signal to your customers that you are leading, that you are the trusted partner. And so it helps you to stand out. It also elevates you, though, in order to unlock additional resources and additional investments for exactly the same reasons your customers have confidence in you in the partners, in the Microsoft partner ecosystem as well. So this is a way for you to not only sort of put a bow around all of that skilling and all of that investment you've made, but then to actually use it as a differentiator. If we're thinking about this sort of partner journey, skilled up our practice, we've designated ourselves and have the badge, we're basically standing out and saying, like, I'm open for business. It's time to go to market, and it's time to think about how do we create more demand at scale. And what we've started to do now is work with our own integrated marketing team at Microsoft to take the most impactful, most effective pieces of collateral in our own campaigns and make them customizable for you guys. And we package that up in a way we're calling that campaign in a box. And so those campaign materials are there to help you go to market alongside us as well, but to bring in that like secret sauce, that differentiation. So they're completely customizable to bring in your value prop, but then we can be consistent with our message and how we're speaking to our customers as well. And so this has been incredibly valuable, even for our more mature partners who have their own marketing departments. But as you can imagine, for our partners that are emerging and have smaller marketing departments, this has been an incredible sort of jumping off point to getting to market and creating the demand, and also expanding footprint, because these are also available and localized in 11 languages, which will, for a lot of partners I meet with, they're always looking for ways to expand into other geos. And then last but not least, you start to develop that demand, and now it's about nurturing that. How do we take these opportunities into nurture and into deployment, right? Ultimately, how do we get them into their MVPs, and how do we get them into market and make this real? And this is what we call effectively the win formula. And the address at the bottom there, the AI for Partners / co-sell, will give you the playbook, if you will, in a lot more detail. So this is a bit of an elevated version of what we call our win formula for a customer. And that, when I say that, I say it with emphasis, because this is aligned to the customer journey. What we're trying to help you guys with, as we do with our own sellers, and this is modeled after what we do with our own sellers, is give them the playbook to actually nurture the customer from one stage to the next. And think about, how do we apply the right resources, the right assets to get the correct outcome, to instill the confidence so that ultimately they convert into the next step, and ultimately then to deployment, management, and optimization. I'm just going to hit on 3, those yellow boxes there, that are part of this. But again, you can look at the playbook out on our partner website. The first one is our envisioning workshops. I hear from partners quite often about needing more support to help develop the right initial use case, so that we can avoid some of those cycles of experimentation with really no end in sight and no meaningful output in sight. And that's not a great use of anybody's time. And so if we start from a place of really anchoring to the most important and most impactful use case, particularly to your customer's industry, usually, then we can start from a place of confidence in what we're doing is going to drive more understanding and impact to their business. So we have both a business, and then we call it capability. It's another way of saying technical. So we have a business and a technical envisioning workshop. And they are anchored to, think of it as a workshop in a box for you guys to take and bring and actually conduct with your customers. And think of them as, they are aligned to the top industry agent use cases. And so this is also going to give you guys a little bit less of a surface area, if you will, into the unknown of all the things we could possibly do with agents. Like, let's get down to the 3 or 5 top AI agent use cases that will drive impact in retail, in finance, in healthcare. That's been a huge ask from our partners. And so definitely check those out. And make sure, and to give us feedback, by the way, because I believe that this is a huge game changer in how we can actually drive into the MVPs and then ultimately to deployment. Next, I want to talk about the AI COEs, or the Centers of Excellence. I mean, ultimately, for the agents to be successful and for your customers to be successful, there is an incredible change management that has to happen. And we've also taken a lot of our Microsoft, as our own customer zero, has taken a lot of time to document what does that look like and what does a meaningful center of excellence look like for continued optimized and sustainable growth of this new AI era. And this is something that, this is a very linear journey. I wouldn't say it necessarily just sits here at the end. This is something that probably starts building, but just, I would say, don't get caught up on it's like the last step, but ultimately that this is something when we talk about managing and optimizing, this is why we put it into this stage. It is ultimately like the foundation for that sustainable engagement, growth, and success. We have written this down though for you guys to then build on and bring in your further expertise from what you've seen and how you have seen the best practices and the subject matter expertise that you're living and coaching your customers on. But ultimately, I would say, we've done 85% of the work for you guys to use as a jumping off point to create the right stability and the right foundation for your customers. And then last but not least, we have Azure Accelerate. And that slide is also going to get updated soon to say Agent Factory, which I'm going to get to in just a second. And that just got announced on Tuesday, which is my next slide. So Azure Accelerate is where you get the money. That's the best way to say it. This is where you can come to get your incentives and investments to help to actually offset the costs for your customers and move them from the envisioning, if you will, to that MVP. This last year, in July, we announced Azure Accelerate as the unified brand. Some of you in the room might be familiar with previously Azure Migrate and Modernize and Azure Innovate. And so those brands, we collapsed them. We brought the two programs together to have a more unified way to talk about this. And then also ultimately to bring all of the right use cases and customer outcomes that we have into one umbrella, into one place for you guys to get the right resources you need. And also more deeply invested in the incentives that ultimately you guys will have access to through Azure Accelerate. And then lastly, I'll say we've been also continuing to optimize the experience. We've gotten lots of feedback, although it's, I would say, one of the shiny things from the other iterations that we've had in the past for our offers is the improvements we've made to going from nominating to approval to getting the dollars. And so we continue to optimize that experience. I know it's not like a very fun thing to talk about, but at the end of the day, it was one of the biggest pain points that you guys had is how clumsy those submission forms were or how long it would take. And so there's been dramatic, we have our partners now in minutes being able to go from nomination to approval and have the confidence to then package that offer up and bring it to their customers. So important to call out. And then last but not least, what I'll mention here, because it's actually a great segue into something I'm going to talk about with Agent Factory, and that's Cloud Accelerate Factory. Cloud Accelerate Factory is a set of engineering resources at scale for all of our partners to be able to collaborate with. Our sellers also collaborate with them as another set of resources, another set of hands to get in there and to do additional work to ultimately free up more capacity for you on those higher value projects or services or ambitions for the customer. And so the Cloud Factory is something I really want to encourage you guys to think of as an extension of what is possible and what you're doing and what you've done, you're there to do. It is something that we are continuing to work on nurturing. How do we create the right operating model between our partners and Cloud Accelerate Factory? So also something we're really welcoming our feedback because ultimately we do want you to think of them as an extension of your technical sales force, as your technical engineers as well. Somebody that you can count on in that customer organization to be alongside you and doing the work so that ultimately you can go further faster. And then last but not least, I will close with the Agent Factory, which is our newest offering that Judson announced on Tuesday. You may have seen it also in Nicole's keynote. And this is something that works beautifully with Azure Accelerate. So Azure Accelerate is the funding, if you will, that you guys can get to invest in actually bring the MVP and into deployment. And the Agent Factory is something that you can package up for your customers to help them be most successful as well. It is particularly focused on the IQs, if you will, I will call that lovingly, and the agent development that is exploding. So this is really pointed specifically at that scenario. not necessarily on our like migration and modernization or on the fabric and like data side of things, if you will. Fabric IQ is included. And I want to say this in an important way, that the pre-purchase plan is beautiful because it also is allowing you guys to have the freedom, if you will, to develop and coach your customers across Copilot and Foundry. So this is one of these big steps in the right direction to not make you choose, to let you be more agile and to coach your customers through that, and then they can ultimately see that through their discounts, the way they purchase and how they transact as well. So we're connecting it, or completing the thought, if you will, and how that actually plays out and executes. And this is also available in CSP for those of you that are also operating in CSP. It's in all of our licensing channels. And then for those of you that have customers that qualify, we have the forward deployed engineers. And the forward deployed engineers are similar in extension, if you will, but more elevated from our Cloud Accelerate factory. And so think of them also as an extension of the work that you do alongside of you, but they are the subject matter expertise. They're the engineers that we use here to come in and to complement the skill sets that you are also supporting. And of course, they're just a point in time that you will then take forward into the future with your customers. And with that, I am out of time. I'm getting the red blinking light down here. So I just say a big thank you to you guys. I hope you enjoyed the session and enjoy the rest of your Ignite.